Right, go. Well, hello, welcome to Guitar Paradiso.
How you doing? On Andertons TV.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's where we are.
There we are.
As you can see, we've got the new Digitech Trio Plus. Now, this is very interesting because it's a week before we go to NAMM, so we're getting a little sneaky peeky at what's going to be released.
Yeah, there's some nice new things coming out, this being one of them.
Hopefully on the day you see this video. So,
yeah.
What do we know then, Pete?
Well, there was one before,
Yep.
a trio before, which this is that's still going to be in the production. This is a new, upgraded version of that one, so it's got a few extra bits and pieces.
Yep, so you'll know the trio from last year. There's a video on the Andertons channel that you can watch. This is an additional model, basically an improved band creator, so say Digitech. So brass tacks, it's a bassist and a drummer in a box that reacts to what you play.
Yeah.
So what you heard at the beginning there was Pete just laid down a jam, it followed the chords, you can change the bass and drum patterns and do all kinds of interesting creative things.
Exactly. Lots of styles, lots of genres, tempo. It's even got guitar effects for each genre as well, which is really cool. You know, you can we've looped some pedals in the effects loops, which is here. You know.
Yeah. So I mean, to take our Guitar Paradiso analogy to its ultimate conclusion, if you were on a desert island and you had, let's see, a generator, some electricity,
a guitar,
some amps, and some cables, but you didn't have any mates.
Exactly.
This is your friend.
Yeah, exactly. Or you could just sit at home with it as well, if you live on an island.
Yeah, I guess the important thing to say... Do you?
Not at the moment, no.
An island?
No, it's stuck to Germany, isn't it? But then it's got loads of little islands.
Oh, every cloud.
Yeah, exactly.
So, important thing to say: the big difference between the big differences between the original Trio and Trio Plus. The major one is you could use this live now. The other one was a bit of fun, great for coming up with ideas.
Yeah.
This you can actually store things.
Yeah, you got a memory card. You can store up to 12 songs on there, with 5 parts each, which you can use a sequencer to, you know, make an intro, verse, chorus, middle A, bridge, whatever you call them, and then put them in here and then do them in a sequence. And also it's got different sort of intensity, if you like. So when I'm clicking here, you can see it's green on one, for instance, and if I want, you know, let's say part one to be up there and give it a little bit extra, then you get that. You'd get that on the bass as well. You get 3 different modes on the bass, so you can either go boom, boom, boom. I can go boom, boom, boom. I go boom, boom, boom.
That's another significant difference with Trio Plus, isn't it? It's got the 3 bass lines.
Exactly.
And the other main difference which is really significant, is Trio Plus has a looper function, which the original Trio didn't. So when you're building your songs, you're the loop king.
I use a looper a lot, just to have, if you're in the studio, for instance, to find a part and then build another part on top, and then record it afterwards to get what fits together well. I love a looper, and that's great in here as well.
I think as much as it's great for composition, it's also great for practice.
Yeah.
So if you've got a chord sequence you want to go around, work out some lead parts, you might not be writing a song, but you might just be trying to improve your chops. And I think looper with bass and drums in the background.
Exactly. A practice tool is great as well. You get, more than just the metronome going tick, 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 tick. You get all of this. You get a band in a box.
Yeah.
It's great.
Do they need pain?
Yeah. And the good thing is you can actually turn the bass and the drum down. You don't. That's great. But the problem is, they don't drive either, do they? Really? None of these have a car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every silver lining.
Exactly. So.
Right. So here comes the fun part. This morning was the first time either Pete or I had ever seen Trio or Trio Plus.
Yeah.
However, in about half an hour mucking around.
Yeah.
And we've kind of got to a point where we can demonstrate the main functions.
So
should we try it?
We should try. So on the top of it here, you have got 6 knobs, if you like. You've got a tempo. You've got your genre, where you've got blues, R&B, so on and so forth. And you literally just turn it and you'll select which genre. And then you've got style of that genre on here. 4 or 3 4s. 1 2 3, 1 2 3 4, and then you've got your loop, which is your looper volume here. So which now we've plugged in straight to the guitar amp. So whatever guitar comes into here, that will go into the guitar amp, and the volume can be turned up and down here. And then you've got your bass and your drums separate, which goes out of the mixer out here, which goes into a JBL speaker over there.
Yeah.
And those two are separate.
Yeah, it's important to say you can run it all into a guitar amp if
you can.
Want, but for optimum bass and drum sounds, you want to run it into something full range. So we've just got a very standard kind of PA cabinet there. You could use an acoustic guitar amp. You could use any mixer.
Or straight into that. If you just pull it straight out of the output into the guitar amp, that's the same, and you can still mix between. But it's great to have that sort of.
Yeah, you get the extended bottom end for proper bass to put it in something full range.
Exactly.
So, and of course you get separate. So come on, let's get something going, and we can just.
Let's get something going. Okay.
Explain.
So. Get some R&B. Yeah.
Okay.
R&B. Choose style 1. You can see the lights up here, and it sort of suggests which the green ones are what it suggests you would use with that genre. The yellow ones you can do, but if you feel frisky, saying so. You've got your guitar, you're plugged in down here.
Okay.
We've also running a couple of pedals in the loop, and overdrive and a delay, but you have got effects, guitar effects up here, which matches the genres. Yeah. So let's say you are in the blues, you get like a boost or something. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay. And if you're in metal, grindcore, Swedish grindcore, then you get different. But don't know we're gonna go there. The shirts don't match.
Yeah, depending on how the rest of this goes, we may go there.
Okay, so. We'll pick R&B, style 1, and then you've got the band button and the looper button. So what I'm going to do now, we've got a sequence, you can choose the parts. So we're going to go with part 1. Let's just hear your guitar, because I want to hear if you're plugged in. You are. Delay is off, yeah.
It's important to say that when we were practicing with this earlier, if you play a very complicated part with very...
jazzy chords, you might say.
Tons of intervals and notes
syncopation
in the chord,
syncopation, and stuff, yeah.
It can get a bit confused. So when you lay down the initial groove, we found that it works to try and focus on quarter notes if you can, and imply the chord voicing rather than play the full extent of the chord. So it will recognise things like majors and minors, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But I'll
and then
show you how
what you
works.
then do is you do the loop. You loop your things on top of that afterwards. So get the structure of the song. Okay.
So we were messing around with the chord sequence earlier. Let's see if we go with that.
So what I'll do is I click the band. This is all flashing now. When I click the band, it's just gonna double flash. As soon as you start playing, it'll record.
And it's it'll set the tempo to my playing as well, which
exactly,
is pretty
which is
cool.
cool.
So
And I'll be here.
Should
on
we do
this
that?
one. Yeah.
So, as you can hear, it's pretty simple just to lay down a basic track.
Yeah.
As we said, if you start with a simplified version of your kind of full part,
Yeah.
focusing on quarter notes, it really picks it up, it gets the tempo right, and it anticipates the chord changes properly. And from there, you can then change the styles and the genres of what you've laid down. Obviously, what you heard there is that kind of choppy rhythm guitar part I put down didn't really work when we went to the hip hop setting because it went half
hip-hop,
time.
exactly. So it's
Yeah.
a different thing. Also, was when you click now it's saving in this part here. That's
Yeah.
worth saying. Because if you want to do your sequence at some point, let's say you've written a song, you want to take that out with you live to perform, then this is now going to be saved in one. So you can, if you want to move on and do, let's say, a chorus part or whatever, you can go into two. Everything we are doing now, if I do that and this and this and that, let's save it in that part one.
So every time you go back to part one, there it is. The
Yeah.
other thing to say is when you'll notice that partway through that, Pete pressed the one button and it went red.
Yeah.
That's the intense function that we mentioned, or it
Yeah.
changes the intensity that we mentioned earlier.
And
You
the same
heard
with
it
the
go-
bass as well.
Yeah, you heard it go from kind of a choppy hi-hat bit to a ride cymbal. So if, for example, your first and your second verses are fairly
Yeah.
quiet and your third verse is more kind of banging, then
Well, we can
that
actually do
works.
that really quick. If I turn this on now, I'm going to turn the bass down, the loop down, so it's just the drums
Yeah.
on this one here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the band on, the band who doesn't need any money, remember that? And then I'm going to switch this here, okay? That was like an Amy Winehouse. Anyway, so you can hear that, and the same with the bass. So if I turn this on again. Proper Motown guy.
Now I could spend 2 weeks trying to record that bass part and get it wrong every time because I don't know all the passing notes.
Yeah. And it's really cool that it does it. And every time it's a different one. It does it differently every time. Yeah. So if you would, let's say you accidentally deleted this patch.
I can't imagine that happened this morning.
Because no, it didn't. But if you hold this down, if you want to delete this, let's say you're on this part one, you want to delete, you basically just hold it down, and it did just kind of happen. But if you want to do it again, then the bass is going to be different because you are going to play it different. So it's like a real guy playing it. Yeah. But it's.
And in that respect, what a great opportunity for jamming. Because
exactly.
There you are, and you're just playing what you feel, and out it comes. Actually, it might be worth thinking about when you lay your initial parts down. You're not it's almost like you're not recording. It's almost like you're instructing or teaching the pedal how to follow you. So in that respect, you do need to be a bit more simplistic in what you're telling it, as it were.
Yeah, exactly. Like when you tell me stuff, it's the same thing.
It's usually the other way around.
No, and then you record with the looper.
Yeah.
That's when you use your ideas. You then use the looper to record your ideas. But you teach the band the initial,
I think that's a really good point because when you approach a looper, quite often if you're looking to loop a big part together, you're kind of desperate to get the first part absolutely right because everything else hinges on that. With this, it's slightly more, it's looser in a way because you're going, okay, trio plus, look, here are the chords.
Yeah.
And here's the tempo.
Yeah.
And it's this simple.
Yeah, and it gets it gets the tempo, it gets the chords,
yeah.
And then it comes up with things around what you are telling it, which is great. And then you can.
Yeah, and at this
great
point,
to have the loop on top.
At this point, you might be screaming at the screen, "Oh God, I don't want the bass to do that. I'd rather put my own bass part in." If you want that, buy a DAW. Get a whole recording system and hire some musicians. But this isn't that. This is more for spontaneity. I think.
But if you play it simple, if you teach it initially a simple bass line, then this would be simpler as well. And you've got 3 different intensities or modes in the bass, so you can you can choose 3 different things. Anyway,
so let's say that chord sequence that we just played, which is actually a Shaka Khan song, for those of you who might have recognised it.
We put that into part number 1, but we now want to put a part 2 on it.
Yeah, so a middle 8 or a chorus or whatever you might want to call it.
So let's go back to, we're in R&B, so we stay in R&B, so we want to go to part 2, so we can make a sequence of when we are performing this thing. So we go to 2, click here, and then I make sure that I'm star number 1 and R&B there, and then basically all I have to do is click. I can hold this down actually, this is a really cool thing. So if I hold part 2 down, I'll get the tempo of part 1. So you get the drummer counting you in.
Yeah, because if you don't do that, part 2 could be a completely different tempo and a completely different, unless you get it absolutely bang on. So having the tempo of part 1, assuming you're going to sequence the 2 parts together,
you kind of have to remember what it did, bang, that sort of vibe.
Yeah.
You now have to remember that because you're the one.
So yeah, if I get my brain into going right, I'm teaching the pedal what's going to happen next rather than trying to put part down. Yeah. Let's see if that works.
Okay,
so what do you do?
So I've chosen part 2.
Yeah.
And I've chosen the R&B setting, and I've chosen the style number 1, which we were on. So I hold this down. I hold this part 2 down here, and then I'll get this, and then when I initialize a band, Mick's going to teach the Trio Plus what to do next. You ready?
Okay.
So now it's ready.
And I can come in at any time, right?
Any time, and it just as soon as you start, it's ready for you now. It's ready for you, baby.
What if I'm not ready for it?
Well, then we have to delete that part. But anyway,
let's try it.
Yeah.
Okay, right, ready? Here we go.
So there you go. So now you taught it to do that. So that's part 2. So you go back to part 1. Let's just check that. Do you want to loop something on first? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's do the loop.
Bear in mind, because I was teaching it, we didn't loop anything there. So now I'm going to actually play the part.
So this is a cool little thing here. So now we're in part 2, and you want to put the chords on top now. You want to now you're recording into the looper your chord, right? So if you click the looper here, and it starts flashing, as soon as you play the first chord, then it'll start recording you. But you have to remember the tempo.
Let's see what
happens. Let's see.
So it's been about that, wasn't it? So literally, as soon as I start playing, let's try it.
So there you go. See,
not bad.
Not bad. So that that's great.
Well,
great.
okay. So I'll let you into a little secret there. What I did was I did a deliberate slide into the part.
Yeah.
And sustain the first bit.
Because then you get the.
So I could hear.
That's why guitar players always play on the and
behind
or the 16.
Behind the beat. Really?
Always. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
What's the chord? I don't remember. Anyway.
So we've got our 2 parts.
Yeah.
Now we'll skip to let's say we'll pretend that we've recorded parts 3, 4, and 5.
3, 4, and 5.
Just for the purposes of demonstration, we've done 1 and 2.
Yeah. So what you want to do is now let's just listen to 1 again. So I go back here, click 1, and click the band. We need to, before we do anything else, we need to put some on this here again. We need to put some, don't we? Really?
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we do a little extra fiddling.
We've realised that Pete needs to put a guitar part on part 2, so let's do that.
So we're here. Okay, so I'll just come up with something. So I'll do the same thing again. Oh, hang on. This is my turn here. So we got that now, okay?
That's so cool.
That is cool. You kind of have to add some. If you are into the song anyway, and you know the tempo, you know what you're doing, then it's not a problem with the tempo, is it, Mick? Anyway, okay. So let's demonstrate the sequence thing. So now we got 1 and 2, and we wanna jam out. We just wanna have a song. So I press the sequence button. We wanna have 2 parts of the first.
Yep.
Of number 1. So I click it, and then it flashes up and goes off. Again, 2 of the second one, and then 2 of the first ones, and then I click sequence, and then it'll tell me what it's doing. And that's basically it. And then you can count me in. When I hold this down, it'll count me in, and it'll also go at the end. So, so let's try that. So if you do want to change anything, say in part 2, when you go through it, you click it and it goes red. Then you go up in the end.
So you can have you do that manually. Yeah.
Yeah. So you could be, let's say you want a third part where you have that, and anything you change on here will also be saved on these parts here.
Actually, it's worth saying there is a control out jack which uses the same foot switch as the existing Trio.
Yeah.
Now,
where you can change bits and pieces.
Yeah, where you can.
It's still very new. This is the first time we see it today. So there's also an editor which we haven't seen yet, which you also will be able to do loads of all of these editing things in, which is worth at some point. When you get the specs and all that stuff, which will be in the description below.
Yeah.
You can go and read more about it because we simply don't know about it yet, but it'll be cool. Anyway,
but right now, you're just going to impress me.
No, you'll impress me this time.
No, you're playing.
Okay.
With awesome guitar playing.
Hold it down.
So I hold down 1 and it gives you a count in?
It should do, yeah.
Well, you need to be ready to play then, don't you?
I'm always ready to play.
Okay, so we'll do this. So it's going to play?
No, you first hold it down and then you have to click the band to initialize.
Okay. So
you hold it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, move. See, it's flashing.
So it's ready.
So now, you click that and it'll count me in.
Okay.
You should do. it.
enough of that.
So see, there you go. So we get bump, boom, 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 bush in the end, which is also very good. But you can literally do your whole song as you want, any parts.
So what you've just witnessed there is, starting from scratch, we've constructed a basic track consisting of 2 parts. We've taught Trio Plus, let's get it right, Trio Plus, those 2 parts. We've then made them into a sequence, and we've played over the top of them, changing the intensity of the parts. Now, that's more together than most bands I've seen recently.
Yeah, it's easier to do, it's quicker to actually teach this what to do than a band. Now, we have to be careful what we say. Yeah. Because we won't be playing with anybody then. Well, it's a good thing we got this then.
Yeah, I mean, okay, let's be more realistic.
Yeah.
Replacement for a band? No, of course not.
No.
But inspirational tool that gets you jamming and thinking about
songwriting,
parts.
all that different stuff. It's great for that stuff. It really is. And you got different genres here. We've only sort of been in one genre. You can we go through some genres maybe just really quickly just to see what happens.
Yeah. Why don't we just start again and put a new
part in?
This
is a good thing. So actually, because we haven't talked about this, so you want to start again, but you want to save this one you've done, right?
Yeah.
It's saved on the SD card, for one, but you've got 12 different songs here you can save into the Trio Plus. So now we've saved, all of this is saved onto number 1. So we want to do a new one. You click song, the little button there. Now you can see it's red. You go on to 2. Now here it's a brand new, fresh, band ready for you to teach them what to do.
So
basically, yeah. So so what you want to do is you want to change let's do some Latin. Why not? Why not? Okay. So because that's you've got jazz, Latin. I'm going for the other side. Jazz, Latin, folk, country, hip hop, e-pop, pop, metal, alternative rock, R&B, and blues. Latin. That's probably the one that's going to be used least, but I like it. So let's see what happens. I don't know. So what we're going to do now again, same thing. Shall I try to play something this time?
Okay.
So let's see. So I'll click here, and now it's ready for me. And Mick is going to press it when I give him the nod. So I go. Good. That's very, very nice.
Well, interestingly, so you didn't play like a very straight quarter note part. You played quite a syncopated part.
Yeah.
But it's picked up.
It picked up that sort of...
Picked up the rhythm of what you were doing pretty well, yeah.
Which is really cool. Anyway, so I want to put my chords on it. So again, click the looper and it's ready for me now. So as soon as I start playing, he's gonna start. Put down the pick. Ready? You ready? Good, so now we've got that. So it should come up now with the loop. We taught Trio Plus, the basics of the song. I've done some chords, and now let's just run through the styles here. So it recommends the green one, but you can, of course, it's your band, so you can tell them what to do. Let's check it out. Anyway, there's so many options, and you can just spend so much.
Somebody get me a drink with coconut in it.
Exactly. This shirts, man. This shirts are made for this.
Okay, so that was just. I mean, that was one. That was Latin.
Yeah, so that's Latin, and
let's
then
go to
all of the styles.
Let's do a rock.
Yeah. Let's do some rock, man.
Okay,
Do some rock.
let's put down a basic rock
Okay.
thing and see what happens.
Yeah. And you,
Obviously,
you put a drive in
I
here.
need overdrive because it's rock.
Let's just see, because there's the effects up here. Can you just play me? So you got a little thing there.
Yeah, I mean that's
choose between.
that's actually the distortion within the pedal.
Yeah. So let's just try to teach it something. I don't know. You can put the overdrive on. You want the overdrive on because now we're doing some rock, and it is in the effects loop. So actually, it's listening to your drive signal. So you're not. Yeah. So it knows what it is. It could be confused if you're getting drive into there. So off you go.
Okay.
And. And then you jam out from there. You just give it some willy on there. Brilliant.
Not bad. We've gone from some weird trip hoppy thing right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Through some funky
Latin stuff. We had some,
did
funky
stuff first.
Yeah.
Into Latin.
Yeah.
Into rock. And I think, none of those songs are going to go to number one, but...
You never know. We had fun.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
And again, you can go through and do all your parts and then do a solo bit or whatever you want on here. Great sequence onto the card. Brilliant. Great.
So what have we missed? Probably some stuff, but
Yeah.
it's released this weekend when this video goes out, unless you're watching in the future, in which case it was released in January 2016, if you're watching on Dave.
Exactly.
If you're watching on Dave Catch Up. So yeah, Trio Plus.
Yeah. I had some fun. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, I've been Pete.
I have been Mick.
And this has been Guitar Paradiso on Andertons TV. See you soon.
See you soon.